Welcome to the Cast Blast Grill Chill podcast with Jeremy and Trevor, the podcast that's all about hunting, fishing, grilling, and chilling out and having a good time in the outdoors.
Hey guys, a quick intro before we start the podcast. Can you guys go please give us a like on all of our social media and make sure to subscribe and like the podcast and rate us 5 stars if you can. It'd really help us out. We're Cast Blast Grill Chill on all social media platforms. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Well, boys, it is 1:11 in the morning on Saturday, November the 10th. And in the north zone of Texas duck, that means it's sleeping a boat night because you got to get your duck spot. And that's where we're coming to you live with the Cast Blast Grill Chill podcast right now. We're on the middle of a unnamed lake somewhere north of I-10 and east of 35. That should narrow it down for you, Bo.
Well, let's see. I pulled up right at 8 p.m., hung out, and then was joined shortly after by Mr. Evan Porterfield.
Say hi, Evan.
Howdy. It's Porterfield, right?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, because Jeremy confused me the other day. He said Potterfield.
Potterfield, Porterhouse, whatever. Just, hey, call me when we're going duck hunting and I'll answer, all right?
So what I pulled in, and there was about 50,000 cars all riddled across the...
Your text scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, so I sent y'all a text. And what did I say? I already forgot.
You said parking lot's full, boys, or something.
There's like 2,956,000 cars here, but don't worry. There's don't let them concern you.
Oh, no, I said, not a threat. I repeat, not a threat, man.
I thought you were just being optimistic.
No. So it turns out that the grand old organization of Boy Scouts of America is hosting an event on this chilly weekend. And they're in for a rude awakening come sunup.
Yeah, that boat ramp's going to be a little crowded. And come sunup, it's going to sound like World War III because Evan was kind enough to bring us a couple really nice cigars that we were sitting around discussing BHA and the fun committee he's a member of and stuff along those lines and just enjoying it. I just heard a gadwall quack off in the distance. Or somebody blowing a call, but that's awful far away.
Might have been my ass.
I don't think so. But anyway, so we were sitting there having a nice cigar, having a nice conversation, and we see a gentleman pull up and proceed to get his decoys out, put them in the back of his boat, and drop his boat in the water.
Very, very quickly.
Very quickly. He did not seem to like the fact that we were milling around the back of a truck. And I seen him flashlight the boat that was already in the water because since I was about an hour late, Trevor and Evan had already come staked out our spot, put the decoys, the first run of equipment out here to our spot. And, well, he wasn't very friendly. He just proceeded to go park his truck very far away from us and beeline it right back to his boat.
He did. He got a pickup and he just said, straight to the water.
And so that started kind of making me kind of twitchy and nervous. I was like, boys, this ain't very good. And it wasn't but about 3 minutes later, somebody else came rolling in behind him. I was like, boys, it's time to go.
We had just got done talking about Mountain Ops pre-workout niacin and how Evan's probably going to be a quiver magnet in the water. We're going to submerge him under here. And yeah, that second boat pulled in. Luckily, we already had ours in the water, so we hopped in and went. And actually turns out that the second guy that pulled in, Evan knew from a Filson event. So at least one friendly face. However much friendly you can be fighting over duck spots at 12 a.m.
Well, see, the guy, I'd met the guy before, talked to him. We talked about backcountry hunters and anglers, and he was talking about waterfowl hunting and all this. And another guy I know was there, and it's like you're sitting there at the boat dock and you're being friendly, and he's like, well, where are you guys going? It goes from friendly to not friendly real quick. It's like, listen, fella, we're not going to get, I like you, but I don't like you that much. I don't know you that well.
We're going over there.
We're going that way.
Yeah, I think we both pointed and said, yeah, over there.
I think we pointed in different directions.
And probably neither one of the direction we were actually going.
No. I think I was going back towards the highway.
You ain't gonna shoot me ducks over there. Well, I don't know, man. It's pretty dang flooded.
Yeah, you see that big lit up dam We're going right over the backside of it. We're going to hit it about 60 miles an hour, Dukes of Hazzard style.
Yeah, airboat style. Jump it.
Whew, boy, speaking of airboats, I can only imagine what another duck hole I know is like somewhere. Because I know them boys are already out there. But, so, we all went up to Lubbock last weekend and went on a sandhill crane hunt. We managed a 5-man limit in a few hours. It wasn't exactly a barrel burner, but there was always birds in the air, so it was definitely a fun hunt. And yeah, it's definitely on my list of things to do again sooner rather than later.
I had a blast. I'd never done that before.
Yeah, it was a first for me too. I think it was a first for all of us.
All of us. So we ended up having, like you said, 5-man limit. So 5 guys, 2 other buddies that we know came up, met us, and man, we had a great time. Went out the night before with Red Eye Outfitters and set up the blind with them. Kind of just wanted to scope out the spot. Plus, we were in Lubbock with nothing to do for hours. And
What do you do in Lubbock? Like, what's?
I don't know, man. I have no clue. If you don't go to Tech, like, I have no idea what you do in Lubbock.
It's a weird town.
Yeah, it's the most industrial, rundown.
You guys, some people listening from Lubbock, they're like, "What the heck? What are you talking about my town for?"
Dude, if they don't agree with this, like, I don't understand. Like, the university was like, there's a Chick-fil-A there. That's about the highlight I saw.
Hey, they got a Rosie's Taco House. It was pretty good.
Yeah, that ain't bad.
Yeah, man. We did that after the hunt, and that was good. That was much needed.
Yeah, definitely. I was definitely ready to eat something, and Evan was ready for a margarita.
And I had just got off a backcountry trip up north of there. So I dipped out after the hunt, went home, and y'all continued on to do a duck hunt the next day.
Yeah, we fun hunted ducks the next morning. It was a pretty good hunt. Quite a few birds in the air. There were some issues with our hide and some issues with birds flaring, but
Technical difficulties.
yeah, there were some technical difficulties on the hunt, but we managed to kill, I'd probably say at least half a dozen birds, maybe 7.
So we probably got about a man and a half limit. Maybe?
Yeah, the biggest problem was there was so much smartweed and we didn't have a dog, and them ducks were doing the infamous dive down and never to be seen again. The very last duck of the day, I'd given Red Eye's lead guy Mike my shotgun because he shoots an old 870, and it was giving him fits for all of last season. I asked him if he wanted to shoot a real gun, so I let him shoot my Versamax, and when he did, it jumped up a pintail, and we all kind of got on the calls and got him to circle and circle and circle and circle, and one of the guys hammered him, and I mean, it splashed down deep in the water, and Evan beelined it straight for where that duck landed, and it was nowhere to be found. We had 3 guys go over there and look for it, and it was...
That's crazy how that works, because I literally put my eye on where he dropped, you know, and I didn't take my eye off that spot. Like I was like, all right guys, I'm sorry, I don't mean to duck out, but I got my eye on that bird. Like I know where he hit. I couldn't find him.
Yeah, it was gone, and I mean that was crazy. But we managed to bring home 5 ducks. Well, 4 ducks and a coot. We killed a really nice plumed out mallard. We killed a fairly well plumed out green-winged teal, and a coot and a bluebill.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
I thought we had a scaup. We had a scaup?
Scaup, or a bluebill, whatever you want to call them.
And then we had...
the coot and the mallard.
I feel like there was something else. I guess not.
There might have been.
Didn't we shoot a widgeon?
We might have.
We didn't shoot any spoonies, did we?
We shot spoonies, but they were never to be seen.
Who took that coot?
I took the 2 ducks and the coot.
Dude, I've heard people doing coot and just like, what they call pressure cookers with barbecue sauce and just...
Man, you put a barbecue sauce into anything, it basically turns into pulled pork.
Yep, I think we said that before on this podcast.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, pressure cooker and barbecue sauce, man. I've never had coot to where it was anything but like long, slow cook or, pressure cook or something.
It turns out
like
okay?
I've had like in a slow cooker. I've made coot with barbecue sauce one time. It's fine. Huh. I mean, it's fine.
It's just the coonasses eat them all the time, and like I've had some coonass boys cooking for me before, and they always just, like you said, slow cooker, and just stew them down, and it turns into like pulled pork. I mean,
you can pick it anything, and then put barbecue sauce on it, and pick the meat, and it's meat. I mean, I wouldn't serve it to anybody if they were coming over as a guest, but
not unless they're an adventurous eater.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of adventurous eating, Evan, as we were laying the birds out for the hero shots, pulls out his handy dandy little pocket knife and goes to cutting into a crane, and I couldn't figure out what he was doing till he pulled out a heart and proceeded to slice him off a little slice, and I had a little slice of raw heart. It was surprisingly mild. It was almost just the slightest little hint of iron flavor. It was.
I think I shocked some people, didn't I?
Yeah, you was kind of a hit with that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, Colton, he took a video, put it on Instagram.
Yeah.
He's like, I already got some hits on this.
Yeah, he made.
I said, really?
The story for Red Eye Outfitters, and yeah, man.
He said he was gonna make the guys from Campus Waterfowl do it too.
Well, and then, and I don't know what it was from. Probably another podcast. Taking the raw liver and eating that. Trevor, didn't you try some of that?
Yeah. So I tried when we were actually cleaning birds on the back of the tailgate. And so we were getting livers and hearts out for your stash there. Yeah, the liver was once again just very mild and just a slight bit of irony taste, but that's expected with liver or heart or anything like that, But you actually cooked liver and heart up tonight from those cranes. So how'd you like it?
So, I mean, the heart's always good, right? I don't know that I would cook it medium rare like the crane steak. But,
I like my heart well.
Yeah, I like them cooked through but not burnt. So they're always good. The liver, so the raw liver to me, at least on that bird, on a crane, is not. Yeah, it's very mild. It doesn't have that strong bloody irony. A little bit, but it's not as strong as you think it would. It was really buttery. When I cook it though, I don't know if cooking it intensifies that, but that's when you get that really like that chalky iron liver, that
overcooked dove breast.
Yeah, exactly. And so I like that. I mean, like fried livers or whatever, it's all good to me, but my kids won't eat it. They're like, Daddy, I don't like that. That doesn't taste right. They like the steaks, but yeah. So to me, the liver was better raw than cooked. But I mean, it just tastes like a liver. It was probably a little bit stronger than like a chicken liver or even a duck liver. Maybe a little bit stronger, but I mean, it's good. I like it. I like that kind of stuff.
So, Trevor, you've had some other success aside from the Sandhill Cranes. You managed your first public land archery buck this season.
Yeah, I did. I guess that was about
3 weeks ago?
2-3 weeks ago, yeah, something like that. Yeah, man. We've been just crushed with like flooding nonstop where we hunt. I mean, even before the big floods came through Central Texas, I mean, it started opening day and it's been flooded ever since. I mean, all the way up until this past Monday I went out there and yeah, it is still flooded, but walked all the way to my stand, got this like river crossing and all this, and dude, I had 18 inches of water at the base of my tree where my stand is, and I was not convinced that was the place to be. I knew a little oak flat.
Which stand were you in? Were you in the Lone Wolf or were you in the cheap one?
The cheap, hang on, just the cheap.
Have you even hunted the Lone Wolf yet this year?
Not this year. So that's my running gun for like if I go somewhere that I don't have trimmed out or anything like that, then I'll take the Lone Wolf and I'll do that. Especially if I'm hiking in quite a long ways, I like to take the Lone Wolf. But yeah, man, ended up sitting on an oak flat, just sitting on a log, and about 8 a.m. that buck walked in, and it was just enough light because it was overcast that day. Just enough light to kind of get some glass on him, and saw he was a 1x4, but a broke off 1x4. So he was really a 2x4 with a one tine broke off, and I was kind of contemplating if it was a countable point or not. because like I could just see a nub, and it was on the offside from where he was standing at me. And so then he kind of turned just a little bit and gave me that confirmation that he was good to shoot. Then took a quartering away shot, and he bedded down, not too terribly far.
How far was the shot?
Shot was 20 yards. And so quartering away shot in through the back of the rib cage, and ended up it poked his front shoulder, so basically just run diagonally through him like that. He went and bedded down not too far away. I gave him 45 minutes, and I was pretty confident on that shot. Started walking up real slow, looking for my arrow first off, and walked up to him to where I had last seen him, and he had moved about 10 yards from there, and he jumped up and took off. I bumped him. So then I backed out again, gave him another like hour and 20 minutes, because I was still pretty confident in that shot, but I just didn't know what was going on. Then went in even slower the next time to the last place I had seen him. Walked about 5 yards off of that, saw a big pool of blood where he had bedded down for a little bit. Look up and kind of peek around this little corner of mesquite and all this, brush and stuff, and he's sitting there laying down, bedded down, staring at me. So dude, I pulled back and I put one right in his heart at that point, and he ran about 30 yards, and then I heard him crash. So I gave him a couple more minutes just to make sure that's what I did here. Went and got my deer, man. It was awesome, really exciting. I worked hard for public land, archery, buck, whatever, first time, and it was I'm proud of it for sure. So I'm a Euro mount that sucker.
Yeah, I definitely would. You're one up on me on public land archery deer.
Dude, it ain't easy. Like,
It definitely isn't.
jeez.
I wish you look on Instagram and you see, well, at least the people that I follow, you see people and they say, well, I got my first public land deer, archery rifle, whatever it is, right? And I wish people like told the story more of what it takes to do that, because it's not. I mean, we've talked about this like in Texas, what it's like to public hunt here, and what the challenges we have, especially for deer, but even like what we're doing waterfowl. Like I wish people would talk more about the difficulty, like what the hours, the time. You know what I'm saying? It's not anything I've done. Like, yeah, you're one up on me. I've never done it. It's not an easy thing to do, and any kind of trophy, like if you got a buck with your bow on a public land, especially in Texas, I say, dude, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah,
I'm jealous.
It's a good, solid 3 years we've been hunting out there.
Yeah, 3 years out there, and if anybody's been following along over the course of last season, they heard the heartache of me putting a bad shot on a buck and just not really having the whole archery thing figured out.
Well, you were also shooting a bow from the 80s.
I was shooting a bow from the 80s, but it was a hand-me-down from family, and I had it in my head that I was going to retire that bow after I got a deer with it. And
you killed a pig with it. You good?
I killed a pig with it out here where we're sitting, actually. And yeah, man. So just through the heartache of that, and a season and a half basically, it's definitely a huge trophy for me. Like that, I'm more proud of that buck than I would think than if I went and shot a 170 class deer with a rifle on somebody's ranch, for sure, just because of the time and effort it did take to get any bit of success.
Yeah, it definitely takes hard work to get it done on public in Texas. As we've preached multiple times, there's only 2% of Texas public, and only 1% of that is huntable. So, well, it's usually very crowded. And, we were talking just before we started recording this that, when me and Evan, we carpooled up to help save the environment and our sanity to get up to Lubbock because, good Lord, what was that, 6-hour drive?
Yeah.
So nobody wants to make, a 6-hour drive all by your lonesome.
Hello.
Well, you were going to go mule deer hunt. You had a reason, and you were supposed to have a partner too. Anyway,
Just for the record, mine was 8.5 hours.
but anyway, so I'm about to say your trip from where you were hunting back to
Hear
Lubbock
that
was
goose again?
yeah.
Sorry. Birds.
Yeah, there's been birds flying over us for about an hour off and on. But yeah, so we were talking about how, hunting public land is kind of the end thing right now, which is a good thing. I feel like if it's not used and put to use, it's not being utilized for what it's here for, and it's here for us to use. And you hear me preach all the time, all the non-consumptive bird watchers, hikers, mountain bikers, and stuff like that, they get every bit of right to it too. But, us hunters are conservationists. Our license dollars, our, federal duck stamps, all the money that we pay for conservation is what pays for all the non-consumptive users, to have this public land that we all have. So the fact that we get to go out and use it and share it with those guys, it's really a, kind of a blessing for all of us. And the fact that, we get to harvest, good meat, and good times off of this land is just, it's a wonderful thing, especially since more and more people seem to be getting into it and raising more and more awareness about it. But me and Evan were talking about how, we lose hunters every year, but, you go to any lake in Texas and go try and duck hunt public land, it sure seems like there's not less guys hunting. You go roll through the national forest in East Texas and go by the deer camps, and boy, every weekend they're full. So are there less people hunting, or are the people that are actually hunting now more dedicated hunters? And that's kind of the conclusion that me and Evan both kind of came up with, was the fact that the guys that are actually hunting now aren't the guys who go buy a license and hunt one weekend and call it quits. The guys who are out hunting now are the guys who have been like me, Trever, and Evan for years, the guys that are out there getting after it and doing it. And that's how come now when Evan's 15 miles into the wilderness after how many miles did you ride that side by side in Colorado?
I think we went up. We went in 8 or 10 on the side by side, and then hiked in another. I think it was like a mile and a half or two. So we were 12 plus miles in,
and still seeing people.
Yeah, we saw a lot of people actually. I mean, you would think being that far in, as difficult as it is, we were, just over 11,000 feet. The campsite was 11,200. You think you wouldn't see anybody. Man, we'd sit up there at 11,900, 12,100, whatever, and you'd be glassing like that. There's people over there. What are they doing up here? Yeah.
It goes back to, we're all friendly till you're talking about hunting spots, and now well, so long as they're doing things right and you're doing things right, there's plenty of critters to go around for the bulk of us. I mean, just don't set up right on top of me when I'm duck hunting. Give me a couple hundred yards and we can all get along, and don't shoot my swing. Boy, that north wind has picked up a little bit again, boys.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to level out.
Hey, it's only supposed to be,
I think it was 8 miles
8 to 12, I think, is what it said last time I looked.
northeast or something.
Yeah, northeast.
Evan, why don't you explain in the best detail you can, kind of course, without spot naming, where we are and what you're looking at and what you're standing in. And
all right, so the GPS coordinates are as follows. Nunya by Nunya.
Nunya business.
Yeah. Well, like Jeremy said, we're in the north duck zone of Texas. Right now, I'm not in the boat. I'm standing outside the boat in my waders, in my dry waders, I might add.
Yeah, go back up and look at Evanowski, and probably about 3 or 4 posts ago, you'll see a very large amount of water coming out of a pair of Academy game winner.
Yeah, Academy game winners, good stuff. Until you realize until you realize you might need to buy a little bit better quality stuff, maybe. They leak. So anyway, I'm standing in the water. I'm in about, probably 2.5 feet of water right now. We're cuddled up next to this willow. We've got how many dozen we throw? 4 or 5 dozen decoys.
Yeah,
5 at least.
Yeah, probably 4.5, 5 dozen, something like that at least.
Throwing them about very strategically placed. Okay, and we got some mojos, and I think we got a jerk rig and stuff. So we're just sitting in some willow trees. We've had some pretty good rain, and so this area is pretty freshly flooded. So we're hoping that the ducks want to come to a new area. So it's kind of, I'm not going to say it's kind of bright out here. There's not much moon, but it's enough that we can see the shadows on the water, and it's kind of nice. It's very lovely. If I was a duck, I'd be wanting to come over here and get shot.
Yeah.
Me too.
Me 3.
Hopefully they do. I think this. So we talk about the north wind. I think I've been watching the weather, and we've all been texting about it, right? But we always the north wind, and we hope it brings down some new recruits early in the season that I know they've been getting shot at in other states. So hopefully we, they like our spread, and that we make some sexy calls to them this morning. So
yeah, we were texting about using mojos, and the question was just arose, mojos question mark, and it was this weekend.
Yeah.
Probably not after this weekend.
Yeah, after this weekend, they're going to learn a duck that doesn't ever fly around equals hot steel slinging their way from multiple 12 gauges from every tree, every clump of grass.
It's like I saw somebody put one of those little, video memes or whatever on social media, and it's like the old cartoon. It's like the old duck hunter goes to his spot, and he calls the ducks, and he flies over, and he pulls his gun up to shoot, and everybody else jumps out to shoot. That's where we are.
Yeah, the old daffy duck.
I'm not going to give away our location, but that's where we are. Like,
Dude,
I guarantee
gives it away.
That actually might give it away.
That's every lake. That's every lake in Texas, man. It's combat hunting.
And even the coast, really. I mean, the coast is getting.
Yeah, for as much coastline as we have, but with the ability to use Google Maps, Onyx Maps, satellite imagery, and everything else, guys don't have to put in the miles in the boat that they used to find the good spots. There's enough aerial survey maps these days that you can find a good spot, without ever going there. And I'm guilty of e-scouting as much as the next guy. There's places that, you just don't ever have a chance to scout. So, you put together your list of points, you load it in your Onyx, and put your bag on your back, and you hope by the time you get there, there's not somebody else sitting there, and you hope it looks as good as it does. As many times as not, I've been burned, someplace that looks like the cat's meow. Well, apparently that was the cat's meow 4 years ago, because this year it's a fresh cut, clear cut in East Texas, or it's a spot that looked really wet for ducks, and it doesn't look like there's been water there in 10 years.
Well, that cat's been dead for like 7 years out here. That cat's long past expired, and we're just left with the remnants of everybody with a new duck boat. As Jeremy says, everybody with a $200 Craigslist dog. So,
this place, not to give names, but this place I actually haven't hunted in 5 or 6 seasons because, and you guys know the story, because 5 or 6 seasons ago I got frustrated, because, we can go back and talk about it, but you got the new hunters, or in my case I feel like it was the new hunters. It was the guys that really wanted to try something new, and they were very ambitious, and they may or may not have taken an animal out of season that was from the air.
Perhaps a federally protected species.
Perhaps. And unfortunately there was not a game warden in the area, and I don't know what happened with that, but I hightailed it out of there. It's just public land hunting is frustrating, but at the same time it's very like with your deer hunt, it's very rewarding. That the elk hunt, you're talking about the online thing, the ability to use Onyx Maps or GPS or Google Maps or whatever, is this area that we went to. These guys that I went with, they've been going there for years, and it's a spot that they just found. and didn't really. They got a tip, but it was a word of mouth tip, right?
One of those ones. Do you believe it or not?
Yeah, well, I think what the deal is, I don't know the exact story, but I think they ran into this old guy that's kind of from the area, and they're like, hey, we're just kind of looking for a place to try out. There's the first year many years ago, and the guy says, well, I used to hunt this old area, and it's pretty good with elk, and you guys should go try it out. I said, okay. Well, they've been going back for like 10 or 12 years, and it's continually gotten a little bit, I'd say, worse as far as harvest percentage, but also, if you want to say it this way, worse by percentage of hunters that are there, which was obvious this year when we saw 6 different groups in our area. And it's so I go back, so I tell my buddy this, and he's like, man, I don't know, somebody let the word out, there's no elk. Well, there was 2 elk, and they were running for their lives. Mostly because we saw Harry and Lloyd on this high ridge blowing an elk bugle, like they're on a brand new trumpet, and they just, I don't even know how to explain it. They just wouldn't shut up. And then we watched them throw rocks off a cliff.
They've been
for 3/4 of a mile because I guess it was fun. It's like, I appreciate, I'm glad those guys are out there hunting, but at the same time, there's I don't know how you get the education there. They need a mentor,
Yeah.
But anyway.
Hey, man, that's in that Primos video. You haven't seen that?
No,
Man, is it the hushing guys or the born and raised guys that just like run around on every just bugle till they find one that wants to play? And I mean, hey, if you're in the right spot in the right location,
yeah, and that might work in somewhere.
That might work on limited access tags, but the one thing I'll tell you that I've heard from most people the past 5 or 6 years since I've gotten kind of interested in elk hunting is in Colorado, just nonstop on a bugle. That's, you might as well be banging pots and pans together because every elk on an over the counter tag is beating a hasty exit away from you.
Well, I get back and I look online at that area on a certain information site, and it's like they're reporting that there's X number of elk seen in this area in the off season, and it's like, it's that simple. It's that, I mean, you don't have to scout anymore. You just like read a forum, and it's, I mean, even if it's wrong, everybody's gonna go there and figure it out. So if it was right, it's just it's hard. I don't know that the online information has been a good thing because now you don't have to earn it.
Yeah, the days of hard work and putting your miles in, or there's a fishing term I like to use, pot lickers, and I feel like the pot licking in the hunting business has gotten kind of ripe for the picking. I'll online scout for a spot, down to a lake for ducks or a unit for elk or whatever, but for the most part, I'm of the opinion that like the stuff you read on the different hunting forums and stuff that for every bit of good information that's on there, there's 50 pieces sending you in the wrong direction. And that's something that I think more experienced hunters do is they'll try and help a new guy out. They'll tell you, hey, you ought to go to northwest Colorado and drive around and try and find you a spot that looks elky and go in there and do it yourself. And one of the things I feel like happens a lot is there's a lot of these adult onset hunters, these guys that didn't grow up hunting and don't understand the work that it takes to find a good spot. And maybe somebody felt bad for them because they didn't know what they were doing and pointed them in a little bit more of a specific direction. Maybe a county, maybe a unit number, maybe a mountain range inside of a unit number, maybe just a mountain in a unit number. Maybe they narrowed it down a lot, and maybe this guy has success, and then maybe in his bragging about the success, he doesn't understand that you don't got to tell everybody your GPS coordinates where you killed the damn thing, or even that much, maybe not even, the exact unit. Okay, units are big, but, definitely don't start narrowing down, well, I was in this creek drainage, blah, because all you're doing is ruining it for yourself in the future. If somebody else wants to put in the hard work, but I don't feel like hard work should be sitting behind a keyboard just clickety-clacking away. to get your information. And I mean, there's multiple websites now that, will basically tell you where to go hunt, which tags you can draw and stuff like that. And I was going to get one of those services, on for the public hunting, for the out-of-state stuff. But I was going to do one of the ones that just like, tag odds and stuff like that. Just because, the out-of-state tag game is something that I know absolutely zero about. The only out-of-state place I've ever hunted is Arkansas, and it's very similar to Texas. You buy your license, you get your tags, and you're good. So, I mean, use that as a word of advice for any of you new hunters. If you do happen to have success, you don't have to tell guys, Central Texas is a big place. East Texas is a big place. North Texas is a big place. Be general. Don't be specific, because it'll get crowded out there quickly.
So I have a question. So is it because we talk about this a lot? So we talk about what is it? The license sales is down, right?
Correct.
But we've talked about, we feel like areas are more crowded, so that seems contradictive. But then we came up with, well, maybe they're more dedicated hunters. Maybe it's less licensed sales, but more. If you had 200 tags bought last year and 150 this year, well, only 100 of those people were dedicated last year, where this year it's 150. So it's less sales but more dedicated. We talked about that. But what about the because you're talking about like the new hunter and going where to go, and this is just my opinion. I feel like with the because information is easier to get and you don't have to earn it, you lose a little bit of that the etiquette. What am I trying to say here?
I absolutely agree. Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like you lose a little bit of that. The morale.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
like for example, we talked about a guy touching another hunter's gun. Mm-hmm. It's like, you don't just touch another hunter's gun. And I don't know if he was a new hunter or whatever. It doesn't matter. But you don't just touch another hunter's gun. It's like there's an etiquette there that, you ask permission. Or like when we were at the dock, earlier. It's like, well, let's talk to this guy and see if where he's going. Let's be friendly. He didn't want to be. He wanted to get out. But I feel like with that, just my opinion is with that, because you don't have to earn it. Yes, we have more dedicated hunters, and I do sound like I'm contradicting a little bit. But you have more dedicated hunters. But you also have more. It's easier to be dedicated, right? There's not as much buy-in anymore.
There's also that, and I also think there's also a lot of, like I said, those adult onset hunters that maybe never had a hunting mentor, that maybe never taught them that, hey, this is the way that we do things. I mean, I could probably take somebody who's never hunted a day in their life, and for one weekend, sit down on YouTube and on the internet, and in the right place, with my scouting, with the stuff that I've done for years, I could probably at least get them to, if it was if it's a brown it's down kind of hunt, that dude could probably kill a doe easily with a rifle, providing he can shoot, and duck hunting, I could put someone I know for a fact, with a half dozen Academy game winner decoys and some $35 game winner, hopefully not leaky waders, and and a duck call. I could have that guy duck hunting and being successful very quickly. But if you don't have somebody to kind of bring you up in it, which is kind of like oxymoronic, me talking about having somebody bring you up in it and stuff like that, seeing as how me and Trevor are both self-taught. I didn't have anybody to bring me up in hunting. I was brought up fishing, and I listened to our step-grandfather, talk about hunting camp and stuff like that, but I never got to go hunting with him. That was, for the adults, for the grown-ups and stuff. I was a squirrel killing SOB with a 22 and a turtle killing SOB with a 22, and shooting doves with a 12 gauge, little single shot crackback out there. But that's all. That was my hunting, was just bouncing around that 16 acres right there. Where you were never out of sight of the house after they cut the timber. So I mean, I had to learn, hunting etiquette, kind of the hard way,
trial by fire kind of.
Well, not trial by fire, just by the fact that you kind of meet people and you talk to people and, you kind of blab your mouth a little bit and, maybe you blab your mouth to an old timer and the old timer goes, hey, man, you managed to have a little bit of success back there. You might want to, that's fine to be happy with your kill and all, but, don't be spelling it out for everybody because not everybody, is going to be respectful of the fact that you say, hey, you went back in here. That next guy might be bringing your buddy and, and his 4 buddies back there,
or a guide service,
or a guide service, or the other thing that I feel like happens a lot, especially in the waterfowl world is, there's one darn thing I know for sure. If anybody ever takes me to their waterfowl spot, I'm not going back there without asking for permission. Like, hey man, you hunting that spot you took me to that one time? And if they say, nah, it's cool, all right, fine, I'll go. But if they say yeah, but I want to hunt it, Sunday and it's Saturday, well, shoot, I'll leave it be. I'll go hit one of my spots. But, I think a lot of these guys now, you'd go take them and introduce them. And, I'm going to introduce a couple guys to duck hunting this year that have never been, a couple BHA guys, and a guy who also records a podcast, Dustin Warnke, the Texas Fish and Game podcast. And I'm going to take him, on a duck hunt. But I'm going to make sure when we all sit around that we have a conversation that says, hey, where I'm taking you, you can't be telling people about it. And if you want to go back here, that's fine. But make sure you pick up a phone, send me a text, send me a call before you go poking in my spot. Because if I come traipsing in there and you're sitting in my spot, we're going to have issues. Because you didn't put in your legwork. You didn't do your stuff. Because that's for one thing's darn sure. I'm going to mosey right on up to you.
Yeah, I think I have a little bit different perspective circling back to, why hunter numbers are supposedly down, but we're seeing more people at trailheads. Maybe the public land fad and just being able to actually hear about public land is working and actually doing justice, and people are actually reacting to that and utilizing public land maybe for the first time. We're talking a lot about new hunters and somewhat in a negative light, but that's just because we don't like our spots getting stolen. But maybe it's working positively and people are actually saying, you know what, this is the year that I'm going to get off the lease or hunt less on the lease and try some public land because it's closer. I think that's another reason that we might be seeing more people at trailheads, but in turn, hunter numbers are down in general. People are actually utilizing the resource where in Texas that could go completely away, and a lot of people couldn't care less because they all got leases and own land or what have you. So that's just my perspective on kind of a theory on why that may be happening.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, the point that made you, say, hey, break out the recorder, we're talking gold here and we're not recording it is, I said, hunting public land is kind of the bougie thing to do right now. It's the hot hip thing to do, which, you know what? It is. I'm far more rewarded every time I have a successful hunt on public than I would be, ever on a lease or a ranch or whatever. I mean, yeah, your success odds are probably drastically higher, grocery shopping underneath a corn, in a box blind with a corn feeder out there. I mean, you're basically picking your dough and, having your sausage made, when you get up in the morning. It's almost a sure thing. I mean, it's not a sure thing, but it's about as close to it as you can get. And, a buddy of mine told me, kind of all these hunters kind of go through a progression. And maybe that's also what we're seeing with this public land stuff, with more guys getting out and getting after it, which, I'm all for. We get enough guys out here clamming around and asking for more public land. Maybe we can get Texas to buy some more, and maybe we can have a few more spots we can hunt. Maybe Texas will open up some of these school trust lands to hunting and some of this other land that's laying around that doesn't get hunted currently. If there's enough of us demanding and asking, say, hey, it's public. It's not doing anything but sitting there. It doesn't hurt to let us consumptive users go in there, take a couple deer, tape a couple ducks, and let some hikers and mountain bikers go enjoy it too. But you get to a certain point hunting, and this happened to me very early, is sitting over a corn feeder. Like I said, it's grocery shopping. It's not exactly the most challenging hunt. And, a lot of guys pick up a bow and, or a muzzle loader, and they start, or they, a flintlock, or, iron sights, 30-30, antique curio firearms. There's all kinds of different ways that people increase the challenge. And I feel like, maybe a lot of this public land increase in activity we've been seeing is, maybe also it's the bougie thing to do, but it's also, guys going, it's, that sounds like it's harder. No bait, no permanent stands, no food plots. I want to go see if I can spot and stalk a whitetail.
That's, in my opinion, definitely more admirable. And I grew up Texas hunting over the feeder, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean, we did too, and when we were kind of, starting out hunting, and as we said before, we started later in life, no real mentors, and it was like, hey man, this is what you do in Texas. You hear people talking, and it's like, oh yeah, man, going to put corn in the feeder this weekend. It's like, oh, I need to get me a feeder. Like, what the heck am I doing?
Yeah, feeder goes off at 7:30.
Yep, and we touched on like the old timers. We keep bringing up old timers, and I was thinking about this earlier. Kind of rolling back into this whole thing again is, I'd like to talk to somebody that's been hunting the same place for multiple years, decades, and see if what we're kind of talking about as a trend is just like the stock market. It's going to have ups, it's going to have downs, and it always equals back out kind of. And I'd like to just talk to somebody that's been on the same piece of property. Like, we're talking about the crowdedness of where we're at right now. And, what kind of spurts maybe that has. If they've been hunting somewhere for 40 years, is it in 10-year spurts where it's, it goes up, it hits a peak at 10 years, then it starts falling again till the next 10. And, I'd be interested just to ask that question, because I know I haven't been hunting the same place long enough to maybe see a trend if there is one.
You know what? We ought to talk to Rex, the guy who taught me how to talk out there where we go, East Texas.
Yeah.
He's been hunting that same patch of woods probably for 40 years.
Well, we're bound to run into him because we see him every time we go out there. And I'll be out there next month, about a month from now.
Yep,
so
and I will be too. And I mean, I know right where his little 10 acres is and right where he camps. I mean, he owns 10 acres out there, but he hunts the public land. He doesn't call it public land. He called it government land. And, he was one of my customers, back when I worked in Houston. And he, we always talked hunting and stuff. He goes, well, heck, why don't you come out, come out there hunting with me? And I was like, all right, do I need, is it like a day lease kind of thing? What is it? He's like, oh no, it's government land. And I'm like, government land? What's government land? And he goes, well, it's just, you just hunt it. And I was like, all right. And he goes, and there's type 2, and you gotta get a permit to get your type 2. And, it was enlightening, and it was a different style of hunting than I'd been doing. I'd been, Cadillacing it up in a box blind with a little buddy heater and, sliding glass windows and, picking my doe or, trying to shoot the freak deer because I always felt bad. I never did kill a buck off that place. They had a management plan. They were, MLD level 3 or 4, and, they were trying to harvest, 3.5, 4-year-old or better deer. And, these guys were spending thousands of dollars a year in protein, thousands of dollars a year in corn. And, I literally inherited an old blind and rebuilt it and put up a feeder and some cattle panel to keep the cattle out. And, I had a spot to hunt. My biggest fear, with hunting, and the fact that there's, less hunters every year is especially, I know it's not this way in the western states and up north in Montana and places like that, that they have land that they can go on. But, every year it seems like lease prices go up, they get more expensive, and that, that hunting becomes a rich man's game. And I don't feel like hunting should be a rich man's game. I feel like it should be an every man's game. That, 100 years ago, maybe 120 years ago, this is how everyone put food on their table, fed their families by going out and hunting. I mean, yeah, you bought stuff at the market too, but, when guys went out to go duck hunting, they were, duck hunting for dinner. They weren't duck hunting for the sport of it, because, I'm not going to starve to death if I don't, if I don't harvest any ducks, though, I will continue to eat and eat quite well, especially since I got sandhill crane in my freezer right now.
Man, I'm about out. 3 birds wasn't enough.
Yeah.
I know, man. That limit was a little short, but hey, those are some big birds, and we got both legs off of them because those legs are like chicken quarters. I got the other side of the boat.
So, all right, jumping back in the boat here. I gotta take these boots off. My feet are not gonna make it.
Suctioned in.
Yeah.
Somebody scoot to the other side.
What?
My way.
I'm on the other side.
You good?
Scoot my way.
Oh, scoot your way? All right.
Yeah, there you go. You're even now.
Watch your
Sorry,
hand there.
it's a very small boat, listener.
Man, this is a top quality, precision built duck hunting machine.
This is a fine duck hunting rig.
That's right. So we will not be hunting out of the boat blind. I didn't even bring it. We're just gonna cover up the boat, stand up against these little island of willows here that's flooded.
And kick a tree, kick some water. This is a Texas timber hunt.
This is the one time I wish I had once invested in a marsh stool. But this bottom is so good down there
Yeah.
that we could have just brought dove stools and sank them.
Well, you see, I brought my bucket. I don't know what you boys were thinking.
Why, you just gonna fill it with water?
Yep, I'm gonna fill it with water, sink it, and sit on it.
Oh.
So back onto that crane thing. Oh, that's better. Get that boot off.
We're all readjusting here.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. It is.
I think it's about 2 o'clock in the morning. Something like that.
Where's that cell phone at?
Okay.
It's tucked in.
Duck hunting does not do Jeremy good.
Here,
on the cell phone.
I got you. It's 2:02.
202.
Heck yeah.
2:02. We're what, 3 hours from LST?
No, how many minutes?
Oh, I'm sorry. So we're like 180 minutes. Actually would be 197 minutes
Dude, we are a lot
from
closer.
LST.
It sounds a lot closer when you say
Minutes.
Minutes? I don't know. It's a pretty good long way.
Let's see. Hold on.
hours just seem big, you know.
Hold on. I will give you the
The exact.
All right, boys, I'm coming in the boat.
All right, shake it. We are 4 hours and 18 minutes from LST.
Oh, we're 4 hours? Okay. So
We got a little bit more.
258 minutes away or something like that. My math is right. I don't know.
Yeah, we asked Jeremy earlier when the LST is. He said when my DU app turns green.
Yep.
So on that crane deal, so I asked. I mean, because I don't know. I've never shot a crane.
I think it was perfect.
I think it was a
Every
first
one of us in
For
there.
all of us.
Well, with the exception of Carter. Carter patterns them down there.
Well, on a proper crane hunt.
Well, yeah, on a crane hunt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crane hunt. So I asked. I asked around. They're like, oh yeah, just it's like a duck or a dove. You just take the breast off. I'm like, man, that's a big bird. That's a lot of meat. And so I got a tip from our Texas chapter BHA chairman, Mike Panassi. Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
I
Panassi.
never get his name right. Anyway, Mike, and he's like, man, take those legs. Get those legs off there. He gave me a cooking tip on, cooking them, whatever. And he said the leg, the drumstick meat will be a little stringy. It's got a little sinew and stuff in there, but that thigh meat will be perfect. And so I'm like, you know what? If I'm out here to kill this bird, I'm gonna eat this bird. So it's like breast, and I wanted to take as much meat off the bone as possible. Took the legs, and then the heart and liver. The gizzard was about.
Dude, it was
about as big as a baseball, wasn't it?
If you would have made it into a perfect circle, I'd give it a baseball.
Yeah, I mean that's a big gizzard, and so
I wouldn't even know what to do with that big of a gizzard,
Yeah, it's a pretty chunky hunk of meat.
Like bigger than
Chop it up and fry it, I guess.
bigger than a domestic turkey gizzard.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
sure.
like way bigger than a domestic turkey, like that you'd get on Thanksgiving turkey, like
Yeah.
way
Well,
bigger than that.
well, and Lenny whole plucked one.
Yeah, oh, that's right.
I saw, no, he skinned it too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So he didn't have the skin.
That's
on
right,
it,
yeah.
Which is the way I would do that bird. I don't
Yeah,
know
he
about
had
the
the
skin
whole
on
thing.
that bird.
Yeah.
So I'm out of. So I saved one side, one breast for a friend of mine up in Nebraska, and I think other than that, I'm out of what I call crane steak.
Yeah, they are crane steaks.
They're plump, man.
Oh, man, they're
Cook
good.
'em,
How long did you cook yours for today?
Oh, like 3.5 minutes on each side.
Yeah.
I was running a little bit lower heat on my grill. I didn't put as many coals in there,
Yeah, I did mine on.
but it was medium rare all the way.
Yeah, I did mine like 4 minutes aside and let it rest for 5 minutes when I stopped by the gun shop and cooked it up for them guys on Thursday. And man, it was perfect. You couldn't have asked for it cooked any better. I coated it in. I didn't have any olive oil. I'd used all of it right before I'd left, so I just coated it in vegetable oil and seasoned it up with some steak seasoning and grilled it up. And shoot, money.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to see what the legs taste like.
Yeah. Oh, so I was gonna say, you were saying about the sinew and stuff, and I think I suggested to somebody out there that why don't we just braise them like shanks, like deer shanks, break down all that tissue, and
make a gravy.
Yeah, just make gravy with, just braise them down, get them all nice and tender, and low and slow it in the oven.
Dang, I'm getting hungry,
dude. I know. We got Mountain House.
Yeah, we got Mountain House and a jet boil here in a minute.
It's almost breakfast time. It's tomorrow morning, so we're good. But yeah, as far as shoot, lost my train of thought here.
Braising it down.
Oh no, I was gonna ask you. We didn't actually get to hear how you cook the heart and liver today.
Oh, I just put them on the grill. Well, I didn't put them on the grill. So first of all, I took all the meat, put it in a pan, and let it rest, get to room temperature. Put a little salt, a little pepper, just a little touch of seasoning, just some like garlic or whatever I had in the cabinet. And then the steaks, right, I just threw on the grill as is. The hearts I put on the grill next to the steaks.
Do them on like skewers?
No, I just put them on the grill. I let them cook for a little bit longer, but it didn't take too much longer because they're small, right? The livers I actually left in a little pan on the grill, and so my thing with livers is right when they're really soft, and so if you put them on like a grate, they're gonna drip through.
Yeah,
or
they're gonna
get
disappear.
Stuck. Yeah. So I cook them on either like a piece of foil, or in this case it was like a little pan. Cook them till they firm up just a little bit, and then I move them over to the grill, and I finish them off with the grill. But again, if you cook them too long, then they turn into like liver jerky.
Yeah.
So they were good. They were good. So yeah, everything was on the grill.
Cool, especially when you're messing with the liver that small.
Yeah, I was really surprised how small the liver was in those birds.
Comparison to that gizzard, it was minuscule.
Yeah, and those hearts were chunky too.
Yeah, the hearts were chunky. I was going to say that heart was at least the size of like a bone-in white wing breast, like a double breast with a bone on.
Yeah,
at least that size.
Yeah, if I ever go crane hunting again, I'm probably going to keep some of my hearts and maybe make heart poppers.
Is somebody coming down? What the hell is that?
That's a bright ass light, is what that is.
It's twisting.
Yeah,
that's somebody hiking in from that point.
Yeah, from that spot that we talk about.
Dude, I believe it.
They'll do it.
I will turn on these light bars.
I mean, if they walk down here, that's
ballsy.
That's 3 miles, isn't it?
At least.
Well, and right now, like Jeremy was saying earlier,
that's all marsh.
Right now, it is marsh. Anyway, sorry, we get a little jumpy when we see lights.
Yeah, lights is kind of...
Lights mean people, and people mean people trying to get
like
their spot.
Set up on you like the stealth man during fucking teal season.
It's crazy. It's just like we're all about public hunting, but it's like
not my spot.
It sounds so contradictory of what we like preach, and it's like more hunters, get out to public land,
but don't get to my spot,
and don't tell anybody about it. Right? Yeah. So this is a ass conversation we're having right now.
Right.
But we have good intentions, I promise.
It's just the fact that we're sitting here in a boat right now. Go hunt somebody else's public spot, not mine.
If we didn't like duck hunting so much, I don't think we'd be as protective of certain spots.
Well, it's not that. I mean, let's be truthful. This is not our spot. It's not any more our spot than it is their spot.
Today it is.
Except that we got here.
Yeah.
So then you get into the hunting etiquette.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Of all of that.
And man, the etiquette was a good word. I like that you brought up the etiquette thing, because our podcast previous to this was about Stealth Man. And it was a walk-in spot on the same place.
The place where that light was just coming from.
Gotcha. Yeah. And, so we walked in early teal there. And so this guy snuck in like at first light.
Yeah, at like a couple minutes till LST.
Somehow managed to get decoys in the water without making a single noise. Right next
That's why
to
y'all
us.
call him Stealth Man.
Right next to it.
Well, okay, so he walks down to where we're at, and like there's this little hump that kind of like, but it's like a point that runs out
I think
into
I
this.
might know exactly
yeah.
what you're talking
Well,
about.
anyway, so we're set up in these willows, and like he goes past us, and back into these other willows, and I figure he's gonna go hunt the
Gonna keep
other
going.
side, and on the other side of this water. And I'm like, all right, well that's cool. We're hunting pretty much back to back now. We're good. If he goes all the way down to the end over there, we'll be good.
Yeah.
No problem. And then we're sitting there. I just saw a bird fly. And anyway, like his light goes out and everything. I'm like, oh, well, cool. I guess he wandered on down there and went down there a little further than I thought because I never heard him throw his decoys. Well, that's cool. That was nice of the guy. Trevor goes out to either adjust a mojo or to go take a leak, and he goes, "There's decoys right there," and I was like,
I think I included on there, I showed him my dick.
"Yeah." So I was like,
That's horrible.
and I was like, well, what guy's setting up 20 yards
I didn't
from
know
you?
he was there, and I was pissing that direction because I didn't think anybody was over
Pissing
there.
on his decoys.
Basically.
Well, so anyway, I'd forgotten to charge my mojo. Like I turned it on and it spun up real good and fast, so it's good. So I flipped the mojos on about 30 minutes before LST, and anyway, come about 30 minutes after LST, that thing's it looks like a wounded duck flopping around out there. I was like, I better go pull that thing. So I go out there and I shut it off, and I look, and this dude is standing next to the willows, and he can't be 30 yards from us. And like I said, never made a sound. Didn't have waders on, which I mean, I hiked down there and I threw my waders.
It's teal season?
Yeah, teal
Oh, it's
season.
hot enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could have walked out there and been refreshed,
Yeah.
But how the heck do you get out into the water, put decoys without ever making a sound? I mean, nothing. You didn't ever hear water splash, and that bottom was not as good as this bottom.
No, and granted, if I was in his shoes and I was embarrassed that I was showing up late to a crowded public hunting area, I would probably set each decoy so quietly into the water that, like, I would be that man. Like, I can understand if I put myself in his shoes why he wouldn't throw decoys basically at LST, slapping them onto the water,
I would have. But also,
or just not throw decoys at all and ask to join the group next
well, yeah,
to you,
that's what I was. When I figured out where he set up, I figured that's.
Who the heck is
Who's
calling
calling
me?
it
I
2
don't
o'clock
know.
in the morning?
It better be 100. Or somebody's in jail. Good young keep going.
But yeah, I mean, I really would have expected that guy to come join us.
Well, normally that's what you do. I mean, if you're being friendly, like I said, I've come out here and teamed up with guys.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm hunting alone, you're hunting alone. We're being nice, being friendly or whatever, so you hunt together. Why not?
Exactly. I mean, I'll
There's no reason
definitely.
to fight.
Yeah, if I'm running solo and there's a group of two, shoot, come join me. It's a duck blind's all about camaraderie. Now if I'm sitting in a deer stand, I have had it where me and a guy literally set up 30 yards from each other. But yeah, seriously, I mean, public land etiquette. Maybe we should do a podcast on public land etiquette. Along with like intro to hunting 101, because I've had a couple guys actually, that are fans and listen to the podcast actually ask, hey man, I really don't hunt a lot. I'm kind of listening to you to learn. You should really do a how-to. I know it's been done 100 different times, but yeah.
Please hold. That owl.
There's an owl. There's something quacking over there. I don't know what it is.
Quacking over them trees.
Yeah, all right. So just to give you an intro to your next podcast, rule number 1, don't get the inside of your waders wet.
Yeah.
Extremely wet.
Yeah, and also
Pouring water out the boot.
a big like pro tip: start cold. If you're hiking in somewhere, Start cold. Don't start with all your layers because you'll start sweating and then you'll never get warm. Trust me.
My feet are cold right now. I can tell you that.
I got wool socks on, 1,000 grams of Insulate. I'm all right.
I got wool socks on too, but
Well, you're wearing fishing waders.
I've got yeah, these are booties and
My feet are cold. I'm wearing wool socks and base layers, but my feet are cold, but not like the numb cold where you can't feel your last toe.
oh, I'm not there yet.
No,
No.
not at all.
My big toe's chilly.
Yeah, this.
I mean, we've been out in it since 10 p.m., so
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's only supposed to dip down to the upper 30s tonight.
if that wind was still kicking at 22 miles an hour,
Oh, it'd be a cold, miserable SOB sitting out
I
here.
don't think we'd have made it.
oh no, we wouldn't have been. We'd have been
We-
fine.
we-
We'd be hunting over there with everybody else.
We'd be asking one of them other fellas, "Hey, say fella, can we hunt with you?" Because your boat got a bigger motor.
boat.
A bigger
boat.
That one dude, he had a what was it, a 16-foot?
Yeah,
The last guy that
Yeah,
showed up.
probably so.
that I was talking to?
16, 18, yeah. It's
Yeah,
a good sized boat.
How big was that motor?
It looked like 90.
You can get up and move.
Oh yeah, he can get wherever he wants on this lake in about 15 minutes. At least to where the good duck hunting spots are.
This one feels pretty ducky.
Well, we were here first.
Hashtag
First. If you're not first, you're last.
not first, you last.
We were first this time. Hey, the early teal podcast we did, we said we don't like getting beat at 4 a.m. for early teal, and
Well, that was my biggest fear, was getting beat that bad by early teal. I was like, Jesus,
so I was here.
big duck.
I was here at 8 p.m. the day before, so I think we learned our lesson.
You definitely get the award for early arrival.
Well, last year, second split opening or the first split, you were out here before dark fishing.
Yeah, one of those times I was fishing before that, and then another time last year, I showed up at 11 p.m. It wasn't an opener though. I showed up at 11 p.m. because somebody kept getting in the spot I wanted, and then I saw headlights, got nervous, and then took off in the boat at about 1 a.m. and ended up sleeping on the boat.
Well, we'll go to a private spot and duck hunt, and then get real spoiled, and then come back here and humble ourselves
And bitch more about public land.
and complain about the
Hey,
thing we
shiny-
love so much.
Yeah, shine a light. This thing just made a weird noise.
You still on?
That's still going. Okay.
Hey, you got like 2 hours left.
Yeah. Got that little card in it.
You know, I think something I was thinking about earlier too. We were talking about the fad of public hunting. I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not saying that's wrong. I think it's a fad, but you know, it's kind of like sagging your pants. Once that caught on, it never left. I don't know that public hunting is ever going to leave. I think it's going to be.
Yeah, I think
it's going to stick around because I've seen a trend too, and with the whole organic, sustainably sourced, all that kind of stuff. That stuff's still growing, and it's like a hippie thing. Well, it's not a hippie thing. It's like I don't know. To me, it makes
eat
sense.
good thing.
It's just an eat good thing, and people are becoming more aware of where their food comes from and that sort of thing.
Grass-fed beef's expensive.
Yeah, there was a. It was a book I saw somewhere. I can't remember the name, but the guy was a vegan, and he's now a hunter.
Yep.
And he explains why. And it's very interesting. And it's like, I mean, that's an okay fad to catch on. Yeah, we complain about it because it's difficult. Because land is a limited resource. There's only so much of this round globe we get. This is it. Until they start, that's what I told my uncle. I was like, until they start offering elk hunts on the moon, this is where I'm going to hunt. Right? This is it. So, I don't know. I see a trend of that. Like the public hunting, but it's also, a lot of people saying, well, why do you hunt? Well, for this or that reason, it's organic meat or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I think those are all fads. I agree with that, but I also don't agree because I'm not sure that it's a fad because I think it'll stick. I think it's going to stay.
Yeah.
I mean, which is not a bad thing.
But
Well-
I do think it is fashionable right now to hunt public land because it's being viewed as more of a thing of reward, which it is 100% more of a reward, even just to go back in 5 miles, a mile, whatever it is.
Whatever your backcountry is.
Whatever your backcountry is, whatever your adventure is. Like, the fact that you don't have to upkeep that land more than, picking up what you take in,
and picking up other people's
go
shit
into a wild place that you can never come back to for the rest of your life, and hopefully it's still going to be there, and you can count on it being there for your children, and so on and so forth. And I think it is fashionable, but like you said, yeah.
Okay, here's another fashionable thing that's happened, and I know you guys are both probably going to wholeheartedly agree with me on this. Bow hunting. Bow hunting has always been a thing, but it's always been a way for guys to either that were just die hard gung ho, I am a bow hunter. I don't pick up a rifle, that's all I do. There's those guys, and then there's the guys that, well, shoot, that gives me an extra month to hunt. I can be in the woods a month earlier. That's why I started bow hunting. Stretch my season out. There wasn't anything else to do, in October besides shoot chee-chee birds, and you can only go on so many dove hunts before you burn up a field.
Yeah, extend your season and just open up for the rest of the season a lot of public land opportunities where that's the only legal means and method of harvesting a deer.
Exactly,
or
but
hog or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, you got guys like Joe Rogan, Cam Haines, guys that are infinitely more
big influencers.
Big influencers, guys that have millions of reach. How many guys have picked up a bow because of, Joe Rogan and the Joe Rogan experience? Hundreds? Thousands? Tens of thousands? And the fact that, that he's gotten into hunting and, he preaches the hunting message and the public land hunting message, very loudly and very proudly. Hey, great. But once again, that early season where guys used to go try to get away from people, guess what? They're running into more bow hunters now.
That's why I bought I was gifted a muzzleloader. I wanted a muzzleloader because it seems like you get more of that experience where you're talking about getting away from other hunters in the late season, muzzleloader season here, than you absolutely do in bow season. And I don't know if it's a bad thing with bow hunting or just like we just talked about, all of those reasons combined. More of expanding your season, trying to get more opportunity, and then also just people looking for something to do in the off season, man. I like shooting my bow in the off season, but I know mine's going into preparation for something to do with hunting.
It's going to go get a whitetail down. I mean, that's the great thing about Texas. Like me and Evan talked about pigs too on the way up to Lubbock. I mean, pigs are great. It gives you something to chase year round here in Texas. You can shoot them up. You can do whatever you want. But, at the end of the day, if we could wave a magic wand and make them go away, I'd probably be sad to see them go, but I probably would wave that magic wand and make them, go the way of the dodo bird, at least here, And then if you want to go hunt a pig, you can go do it in, New Zealand, someplace they're not native there either, or, go over to Europe, go over to Russia, go hunt a true Russian boar, unlike these quote-unquote Texas Russian boars.
All right, boys and girls.
Uh-oh. I just heard a motor.
Yep.
And close.
Let's go ahead and cut that.